Cheat Code Support Strategist by myheadinthecoudsnotcomingdown. Read by Rat Overlord. Chapter 22. Decisions. Summary. The USJ continues to fight back. Midoriya! President Mike's voice, much less exuberant than normal, brought him back to the present, and Isuku looked over at Mei, who looked like she was about to throw up. How long had they been sitting there?
Are you and the other listener okay? You went a little quiet there, and you were talking about dust?
Isuku swallowed the bile that was starting to climb up his throat. The leader, his quirk, he killed. It's my fault. There was a panicked flurry of noise on the other end of the comm, but the white noise in Isuku's brain was louder. He'd never seen someone die before. If it wasn't for Isuku's interference, would Shigaraki have still killed that guy? Probably not, so it was Isuku's fault that he was dead.
Slow down, young Midoriya.
All Might's voice wasn't quite the same as it was when he was in his hero form, but it still brought back enough memories of long hours in front of a computer to be slightly comforting.
Start from the beginning. First off, is Eraserhead all right?
What? Isuku looked at the screen helplessly. Even though it seemed like the world had stopped for him, the fight was still ongoing. Eraserhead was still slowly being overwhelmed by the cannon fodder as Shigaraki and Kurogiri watched him passively, as if they hadn't just casually left a body in the middle of the plaza.
Eraserhead is fine,
Mei reported, apparently recovered from shock a little quicker than Isuku had been able to.
The villain killed one of his own men.
He killed him because of me, Mei-chan. Isuku's voice cracked. That man is dead because of me. Mei looked at him, the emotions in her eyes swirling between pity, helplessness, and something else that Isuku couldn't quite name.
I know, but they're going to kill a lot more people if we do nothing.
Isuku took a deep breath and let it out slowly before addressing the teachers and throwing himself into his analysis. He could deal with everything later. The leader's name is Shigaraki. He has a disintegration quirk that seems to spread from whatever he touches, most likely a 5-point activation quirk, just like Uraraka's gravity nullification. It is unknown whether he can control the speed at which something turns to dust. The warp quirk user's name is Kurogiri, and he appears to be the right-hand man, also far more mature than Shigaraki. All other villains are most likely hard muscle. Isuku still didn't want to use the guns that Netsu had mentioned, but he went into the defense system and started booting them up anyways. If Shigaraki was willing to kill so easily, Isuku had to be prepared. Mei was right. All he could worry about right now was making sure that Shigaraki didn't kill anyone else.
Mei-chan, I need you to take over the mountain zone, Isuku said. I need to focus on the plaza. Will do, Isukun.
Mei turned towards the screen and her eyes widened.
Oh my god!
What? Isuku turned to check on what was wrong, only to end up with Mei's hands over his eyes.
Mei-chan, what are you doing? I can't see!
What's going on over there? Power Loader demanded.
Kids? We're fine, Power Loader-sensei!
Mei yelled.
It's just that Isukun doesn't need to see that. I literally just saw someone die, Mei-chan.
Isuku grumbled.
What's worse than that?
Well, it's just that... Mei's voice sounded embarrassed.
One of the girls at the mountain zone had a costume malfunction.
I knew that costume was going to be problematic. Isuku grumbled. Her quirk works through skin exposure, Mei-chan. It's not a big deal. If I promise not to look, can I have my eyes back?
Hatsume, please.
President Mike sounded somewhat desperate.
Midoriya needs to help Shota. Oh!
Mei snatched her hands back as if she had just been burned.
I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking, and...
Sometimes trauma is like that.
Hondog interrupted patiently.
Experiences like this make the brain want to cling to any sense of normalcy it can get. Honestly, you kids are first years and aren't even in the hero course. You shouldn't be going through any of this.
If we weren't involved, you still wouldn't know about the attack, Isuku said resolutely. We're fine.
Crap, Shigaraki's on the move.
Isuku turned up the volume so he could hear Shigaraki's mutterings.
24 seconds, then 20, then 17.
It took a moment for Isuku to make the connection, and when he did, he couldn't help feeling like he'd somehow gotten caught in Todoroki's ice quirk.
He figured out Eraserhead's tell.
Eraserhead tensed and jumped away from Shigaraki as he ran forward, and Isuku sighed in relief. I was worried for a second that Eraserhead would be too busy to see Shigaraki's quirk in action, but he's keeping his distance, so he's safe for now. Eraserhead prides himself on having good situational awareness, Netsu said. He wouldn't be such an effective hero if he was unable to multitask. I've gotten almost all the students out of the disaster zones, May reported. Most of them are heading towards the entrance, but a few are trying to make their way towards the plaza. Get in their way, please, Miss Hatsume, Netsu ordered. We need to keep the students away from the most dangerous villains as possible. But... Hatsume. Paraloader said her name like it was a warning, which it probably was, although Isuku had no idea what the punishment for disobedience would be. Most likely no access to flammable materials for a week. Fine, have it your way. May huffed and started typing. Isuku glanced over to see Katsuki and Kirishima struggling to keep on their feet as mini earthquakes shook the path they were on. It wouldn't hold them back for long, but he trusted May to keep them safe. Turning back to his own screen, Isuku stopped breathing as he realized that Shigaraki had stopped the cat-and-mouse game he'd been playing with Eraserhead and was now scratching his neck again. This couldn't be good.
Stupid cheater,
Shigaraki muttered.
If it wasn't for this stupid extra player with the extra cheat codes, I could have taken Eraserhead out easily. His quirk isn't good for long, drawn-out battles with big groups.
No. Good hero.
Eraserhead panted out and shot his capture weapon toward Shigaraki.
Is a one-trick pony.
Kurogiri appeared beside Shigaraki, and the capture weapon disappeared harmlessly into a portal, only to reappear at Eraserhead's ankles. Eraserhead rolled away and his hair started floating. The portals disappeared, cutting the capture weapon neatly in half as they closed. Isuku shivered slightly. If Kurogiri closed one of those portals while someone was halfway through...
Would you like me to take care of him?
Kurogiri asked. Shigaraki stopped scratching his neck and grinned widely enough that Isuku could see the expression behind his hand on his face.
No, Eraserhead might be cool, but he doesn't know that I'm not the final boss here. No, Moo!
Isuku didn't know how he'd missed the giant shadow that slammed Eraserhead into the ground, but if he'd thought about it, he would have assumed that the bird villain with an exposed brain was just one of the thugs that Shigaraki had hired. He would have been so wrong.
What is that thing?
May's voice raised in a barely concealed panic, and Isuku decided that he didn't like it when she panicked. This was supposed to be his job. I don't know. Isuku stalled for a moment, ignoring the teacher's barrage of questions on the other end of the comm as he analyzed the villains.
Everybody just shut up!
Eraserhead is still alive. At least, he hoped he was, but he could have sworn he'd seen the hero moving around a little, even after whatever that thing was had stopped beating him. But the students are all on their own now. He's not going to be able to fight anyone with those injuries. As for what attacked him, well, it doesn't seem human. It has a strength aspect to its quirk, definitely, but it also seems to have some sort of bird mutation, which would normally come with more fragile bones and diminished physical strength that the villain obviously hasn't shown any signs of. Isuku trailed off as Shigaraki started speaking again, bragging, his mind corrected.
What do you think of him?
Shigaraki said gleefully.
He's a bioengineered anti-symbol of peace, but you can call him Nomu. He's got his own set of cheat codes to beat the big boss.
Bioengineered anti-symbol of peace? May repeated, horrified.
That thing was an invention? That's somebody's baby? Their backup is going to be coming soon. Between the student that escapes and that noob with the cheats codes, it's game over.
Shigaraki growled and brought his hand up to start itching at his neck again, only to freeze right before he made contact.
How about we leave the symbol of peace a present to break his pride before he gets here?
He lunged towards Eraserhead, but Isuku was already ready. He shot every weapon that he could think of in the space between Shigaraki and the hero, but apparently Kurogiri was already expecting this. Each of the rockets, bullets, and/or other projectiles he launched were effortlessly redirected upwards, harmlessly exploding near the ceiling. Portions of the dome shattered from the shrapnel and bullets, and the remaining thugs ran for cover as shards of glass started raining down. But even falling glass wasn't enough to stop Shigaraki from grabbing Eraserhead's face, just like how he had grabbed the blocker earlier. May and Isuku both held their breaths as all 5 of Shigaraki's fingers made contact. Nothing happened.
You really are cool, Eraserhead.
Shigaraki grinned. At least he seemed to respect Eraserhead as an opponent, not that that would be enough to keep him alive.
Nomu!
Isugu had already launched another net at the Nomu, hoping to cancel his quirk in time to soften the blow, making sure to shoot a rocket at Kurogiri at the same time in an attempt to distract him. The half-baked plan worked, and the net wrapped around the monster. But even with the net canceling his quirk, the Nomu still slammed Eraserhead's face into the concrete with an audible crack, and the hero finally went completely limp. Shigaraki simply huffed and disintegrated the net like it was nothing before turning his attention back towards the now unconscious Eraserhead.
How far out are you guys?
Isugu's brain whirled with millions of plans as he addressed the heroes. About 5 minutes, Netsu said. But All Might could get there in 2 if...
Do it,
Isugu ordered.
Power up and get over there. I'll distract them. Isakun!
May warned.
Don't you dare! Young Midoriya, I really must insist.
All Might's voice overlapping May's and the other heroes as they tried to stop him, but Isugu resolutely ignored them as he connected to the PA system. Shigaraki froze with his hand only inches from Eraserhead's face as Isugu's voice, slightly warped from both technology and the acoustics of the building, echoed around the USJ.
Hello!
He took a deep breath and forced a shaky smile onto his face in a poor attempt to both assure May and make himself sound more confident.
You seem to be having a little bit of trouble.